Hello everyone, and welcome to Awkward Author. My name is Alyssa Grasso, and this is my weekly vlog and podcast about my sometimes awkward author life, coming to you today from my always messy reseller office. Do ignore the mess behind me, which is, in its own weird way, organized, I suppose. So what have I been up to this week? Not too much. Continuing to make progress on the thriller novel that I'm working on, which again is the first of a three-part series, a planned three-part series. And I'm up to about 61,000 words on the book. I'm thinking it's going to come in at around 90, maybe 85, 90,000 words. I had a little bit of a hiccup, I guess I would say, this week. So, as I've said before, I use Scrivener to write my novels in, and what I do ahead of time is I create an outline for myself. A lot of times I write this down on paper, and so I draft everything out on paper, and then I write this all out into a Scrivener document. If you use Scrivener, you know that when you're writing a novel, it organizes things in a system of folders. Like each chapter is a folder, and then within that folder you can have, different scenes, as you'll have, in a chapter. And so what I like to do is, when I outline, I might make like a big picture outline, but in general what I like to do is create like a chapter by chapter outline for myself. So when I'm drafting it on paper, I basically have a page that's, this chapter, another page, the next chapter, and just, plan everything out that way. And so when I upload it, by upload, I mean like type out what I've written out on paper, when I put that into Scrivener, each of those pages becomes a folder. And so, I have that folder, whatever is labeled, and then in my notes section, I have what I've written out as, the outline is what needs to happen in that chapter. And that, to me, really helps me to, keep moving at a good pace while I'm writing and not get stuck and lost, hopefully, as I'm going along. So I like to do that ahead of time and have all that set up so then I can just go through and write. And, I know when I get to this chapter, okay, this has to happen. Now, sometimes as I'm going along, I do change things where I'm like, well, it would be better if this happened here, and then later on this is going to happen, so, I'm going to rework this, that sort of thing. But I do generally pretty much stick to the outline I've created, because, I've spent a lot of time, thinking things out, so it isn't, it's pretty well organized, I guess I will say. Okay, so as I'm working, I'm going along, and I'm getting to the point where, I can see, as I'm writing, I can see on the left-hand panel there all my folders laid out. And I'm like, I'm almost, out of folders. And that's weird, because I don't think I'm almost done with this book. And when I say almost done, here's the problem. I am, how can I put it? There's an A story and a B story to this. So, the B story is going to be this police detective character who's going to go through the 3 books in this series. And so his chapters I've largely been skipping over. I think I wrote, the first 2 or 3 of them. But I may go back and change those because I had some ideas about how I wanted to do things with that character, carrying it over from the 3 books. And so my plan was to get the A story down being the kind of mystery that's, solved within this book, whereas his story, which is going to obviously tie into that mystery, I'm going to carry over through the 3 books. Okay, so I kind of had it in mind that I was going to go back and kind of redo his whole story for the 3 books and just, plot all that out. And so I was skipping over his chapters and just doing the A story chapters, right? But even so, I'm getting towards the end and there should be more A story chapters, and I'm like, I'm almost out of folders here. What did I do? Well, I don't know what I did. That is the answer to that. I went and looked through, and I didn't have everything there. I didn't have everything outlined to the end of the book, which I'm kind of confused, because I really, really thought that I had written out an outline, and I may have written it out somewhere and never entered it into the computer. I might only have like thought it in my head and never actually wrote it down or wrote it on the computer. I don't know. All I know is I have no idea, if I did write it out, I have no idea what happened to it, which is, my organization system. But yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I had to, take some time this week in the middle of writing to kind of create to finish the outline, I guess, for the final chapters of the book, which it isn't too much. And what I had actually done is I kind of had, there's like a husband and wife character. I had like the wife's chapters pretty much, maybe not like her last chapter, but I had them pretty much done. And then his chapters, for some reason, just, I didn't finish. Either I didn't finish putting them into the computer, or I never finished writing them out. So that's what I did this week. This week I went ahead and, got all that done. And then did some writing too. So now, with the exception of, the B story, the police detective story, I have everything outlined out, drafted out, and can kind of move ahead with that. And that's really getting towards the conclusion, those chapters. So, it's going to be, the next part is going to be finishing outlining the B story chapters, the police detective, which I'm probably going to, when I sit down and do that, I'm going to do for all 3 books. So I kind of have his story mapped out for all 3 books. Obviously there might be more to it as I, work on the storyline for those other 2 books. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I'm just going to do his story first and then go back and do the storylines for the other 2 books, probably. But I might actually just take some time and outline so I have all 3 books fully outlined. I'll see what I'm in the mood for. I might do that. I have a feeling that might be the best thing to do, because as I'm finding, when the original outline I created for this, I did have the police detective chapters outlined, and now, it's like a lot of that stuff I'm going to do away with, because as I've been thinking about it and thinking about his story, the way I wanted to go through the 3 books, what I wrote originally isn't going to work. So, yeah, so I might actually, depending on where I get to, this next week, I might actually sit down and create outlines so that I have the 3 books outlined. And I think if I have that, I'm really in a good shape to actually get these all 3 written this year. That, I know I set that goal, and it's like, well, that's a crazy goal, but I think if I have an outline that's going to carry me through the 3 books, I think I could definitely get those all written. I'm coming pretty much to the point, with the exception of obviously that other part of the story, which is a big chunk of the story, but I'm getting to the point where I'm almost done with the first draft, at least for the A story part of the book. So I think it's not even the end of January yet, so I think it's pretty feasible that I could get all 3 of these books written this year. I don't, in some format, at least in first draft format, and maybe even get them edited. I don't know if I'll have them out this year, though, or if they will not be published till next year. We'll have to see. It really depends on how quickly I'm able to move along and how quickly I'm able to move forward. But that's been the main part of what I've been working on this week as far as author stuff goes. I have also continued, little by little, working on that screenplay for Unnamed Roads. It's just something I want to do, really like a vanity project at this point. I don't know what's going to come of that, but just something I wanted to kind of create and get out there and, just draft that down on paper or on computer, as the case may be. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, I in the past had, screenwriting software, Movie Magic Screenwriter, if you've ever, if you're familiar with screenwriting and stuff like that. This was ages ago, old computer. I don't have that anymore. So I was I didn't even know if Scrivener had something for screenplays. They do, and it's awesome. So if you are at all interested in screenwriting and you have Scrivener, you should definitely check out the screenplay module, because it's pretty cool how it works as far as, it sets it up in screenplay format very easily for you. You're not having to if you know how the screenplay format is, you're not having to hit caps lock to, type the scene headers and the character names. Like, everything is very, it's very user friendly to me as far as typing goes. Like, I find it wonderfully easy to use. I find it easier than Movie Magic Screenwriter, which was like software that was meant specifically for screenwriting. Like, this is, to me, beyond that as far as in terms of easiness and how it is to use. So just a little plug for Scrivener there, which, they're not paying me anything to say that. I just discovered that as I was, working on creating that screenplay. So what else? I have gotten back into looking into advertising and stuff again, marketing. I know I really have fallen off the wagon there. I have, as I said, I have like a few AMS ads running for my books that, I'm not really spending too much on them. I'm not making too much on them. They're just kind of, chugging along there. And I should probably, at some point sit down and work on some more AMS ads. I did recently get some, going, but I think I've already paused one of them because it just wasn't giving me the results I wanted. So I have to look into that a little bit more. At the moment, what I decided to do was to get a Facebook ad going that's actually promoting my free novella. So basically building up mailing list. So that's like, I'm not running too much of an ad. I'm only spending like $5 a day on it. And the idea there is thinking long term, like, that's not going to generate immediate sales, but continue to build up the mailing list so that, down the road, hopefully, as I have more books coming out, I can, get a bigger push for them when they first come out and help to boost their sales that way. So really thinking, big picture, long term with those ads. And so they do seem to be working. The ads are running. I am getting mailing list signups, and that's good. I have another promo coming up. I'll be putting out my newsletter this week, and there's a group promo thing that I'm participating in, not an author group promo. This is something else through Dojo Mojo. So I have that going out this week. That'll start. So that is also hopefully going to generate some mailing list signups, but that's different. That's more, the giveaway crowd as opposed to the free book crowd. So there's two different crowds there. But yeah, so that's some stuff I'm doing, working on marketing wise, I guess. So in both cases, we're talking long-term stuff. I noticed Barnes & Noble has a new advertising platform that they're pushing, so I've reached out to them about participating in that. The only thing that I'm not so crazy about with the Barnes & Noble thing is basically you have to have like a minimum buy-in for it, so you can't really try it out. Like, you can, like how AMS is, like, you could spend just a little bit of money and see how it goes, or anything else like Facebook, BookBub, anything like that. Like, you can set like a budget and try it out and then revise things and stuff like that. The Barnes & Noble ad, you don't really have too much control on. It's like basically looks like they're just going to place you in a category and advertise your book that way, but it also has a minimum buy-in of $300. So that's like kind of a pricey thing for something you don't know how that's going to work and if that's going to generate enough sales. So I don't know. I am going to probably try it out. I put in a request, to contact them about that. So I'll let you know how that goes. That might be, I don't know, that might end up being a waste of money, or it might generate a bunch of sales. I really have no idea how that's going to go. I will, say that Barnes & Noble is a struggling company, as many people know. So they might be, they're doing this obviously to try to generate money and hopefully generate sales, but will this work? I don't know. And is it just really going to be some way for them to line their pockets with the advertising income? We shall see how that goes. Yeah, I think the feedback they're going to get initially from people who do want to participate in is that, $300 is a lot for something you really, have no control over, really, where they're placing you. You're just getting placed in a category and no idea really how well that's going to work in terms of, generating sales. But again, like AMS ads, like or BookBub ads, like you are advertising directly to people who are shopping for books. So there is that benefit to it, as opposed to like Facebook or something like that, where you're you can target it to people who are fans of books, but people aren't on Facebook to buy books. They're on Facebook to, share pictures of their cat or what they ate for dinner or whatever. So it's a little bit of a different situation, I think. Anyway, those are my 2 cents, and looking at marketing and stuff like that, and what do I know, because I'm still figuring this out too. But anyway, that's what's going on this week in Alyssa Land. I will catch up with you again next week, let you know where I'm at, where things are going. Maybe by the time I talk to you next week, I'll be well into, drafting, outlining the rest of the book I'm working on, as well as the other 2 books in that series. We'll see. But I'll let you know. Again, my name's Alyssa Grasso. This is Awkward Author. I put out new videos and podcasts every week talking about my awkward author life. If you're interested, you can subscribe, give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you would like to know more about me and my books, you can visit my website and get a free novella at the same time if you go to alyssagrasso.com, and that is ALISSAGROSSO.com. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you all again soon.